The Malibu wind whispers through the eucalyptus, carrying with it the scent of salt and memory. Inside a sun-drenched study, Sam Elliott sits in a battered leather chair, the kind that remembers every story ever told in its creases. The afternoon light slants across his weathered face, catching the silver in his hair and the wisdom in his eyes. He is 81 now, but the presence is undiminished, the same quiet gravity that once made entire movie sets fall silent when he entered a room. Today, though, the cameras are not here for a role. They are here for the man behind the legend. He cradles a glass of whiskey, the amber liquid catching the light, and lets the silence stretch. The interviewer, a younger man with a notebook and a reverence for old Hollywood, leans forward, sensing that something rare is about to happen. Sam's voice, that deep rolling thunder, finally breaks the hush.
It was a treat, you know.
I mean, I just felt like it was a gift every day. There is a tremor of nostalgia, a hint of mischief, and something else, the weight of stories long kept in the shadows. For decades, Sam Elliott has been the embodiment of the strong, silent type. The mustache, the drawl, the eyes that could hold a secret or a storm. He never chased the spotlight, never played the Hollywood game with the desperation of so many others. He let the work speak for itself. Tombstone, The Big Lebowski, A Star is Born, each roll a new layer of myth.
But today, the myth is set aside.
Today, Sam Elliott is ready to name names, not the characters that made him famous, but the women who shaped the man he became. The room seems to hold its breath as he begins. People always want to know about the movies, he says, but the real stories, those happened when the cameras stopped rolling. He takes a slow sip, savoring the burn, and the mustache twitches with a private smile. I suppose it's time. He starts with the name everyone expects, Catherine Ross. Their story is Hollywood legend, but Sam's telling is different, more intimate, more real. They met on the set of The Legacy in 1978, two professionals doing their job, nothing more. But Sam remembers the exact moment everything changed. It wasn't during a love scene or a candlelit dinner. It was between takes, when Catherine was fixing her hair in the mirror and caught his reflection watching her. She turned, smiled, and in that instant, something electric passed between them, something that had nothing to do with the script. To the world, it looked like a fairy tale, a romance that led to marriage, a partnership that endured. But Sam's voice softens as he describes the magnetic pull that drew them together from that very first glance. She wasn't just another conquest, he says. She was the one who saw through all of it, the cowboy, the mustache, the Hollywood stuff. She saw me. Their chemistry was not manufactured for the cameras. It was raw, real, and undeniable. In Catherine, Sam found not just a lover, but a confidant, a woman who understood the depth and tenderness beneath his rugged exterior. But before Catherine, there were others. Women who knew Sam Elliott when he was still fighting for recognition, still wondering if his deep voice and distinctive look would ever find a place in Hollywood. These were the actresses who saw potential in the tall, mustached cowboy from Sacramento before the world knew his name. He speaks the next name with a fondness that lingers, Sybil Shepherd. She was riding high on the success of The Last Picture Show when their paths crossed in the mid-70s. Hollywood royalty, the kind of blonde bombshell who could have any leading man she wanted. But Sam's quiet confidence intrigued her. He didn't try to impress her with stories of his modest career or future ambitions. He simply existed, letting his presence speak for itself. Their affair was brief but intense, hidden from the prying eyes of gossip columnists who were more interested in Sybil's high-profile relationships with directors and producers. What drew her to Sam was not his Hollywood connections, he had none at the time, but his authenticity in a town built on pretense. His groundedness in an industry that specialized in illusion. Sam's voice drops to a gravelly whisper as he remembers those stolen moments. Hotel rooms in forgotten towns, late-night drives through the desert where they could be themselves, free from the weight of public expectation. She taught me that desire didn't have to be complicated, he says. Sometimes two people just fit together, even if it's only for a little while. The third name comes with a pause, a hesitation that speaks volumes. Farrah Fawcett. At the height of her fame, America's sweetheart with the golden hair and the smile that launched a million posters. But behind the public image was a woman searching for something real, something deeper than the superficial relationships that seemed to define Hollywood romance. Sam met Farrah at a charity event in 1979, long before either of them could have predicted the trajectory their careers would take. She was magnetic in a way that went beyond beauty. There was vulnerability beneath the confidence, a searching quality in her eyes that most people missed. Their connection was immediate but complicated. Farrah was involved with Lee Majors, though their relationship was already showing cracks. Sam was still years away from the leading man status that would define his later career. What they found in each other was an escape from the pressures of fame. The affair lasted 6 months, conducted in secret locations away from the cameras. Sam remembers Farah as a woman who laughed easily but loved carefully, someone who understood that their relationship existed in a bubble that couldn't survive the harsh light of public scrutiny. When it ended, it was with mutual understanding. They had given each other exactly what they needed, at exactly the right time. As the Malibu sun dips lower, the room grows quieter. Sam Elliott, the man who built his career on being the strong, silent type, is finally breaking that silence. The stories he shares are not just about desire, but about the courage it takes to be vulnerable, to open oneself to another person, even when the world is watching. And as he prepares to reveal the next name, the air in the room seems to thicken with anticipation. The journey through memory is only just beginning. The shadows lengthen across the Malibu hills as Sam Elliott leans back, the whiskey glass now half empty, his gaze drifting to a horizon only he can see. The interviewer, sensing the gravity of the moment, lets the silence linger. There is a reverence in the air, as if the room itself is listening. Sam's next words are softer, almost reverent.
Glenn Close.
The name hangs in the air, unexpected and electric. This was years before Fatal Attraction made her a household name, when she was still known as a stage actress with classical training and a reputation for serious dramatic chops. They worked together on a television movie that has since faded from public memory, but for Sam, those weeks were unforgettable. Glenn was different from the other women in his life. She challenged him intellectually, pushed him to dig deeper into his craft, and refused to be impressed by his natural charisma until he proved he had substance to match. Their relationship was as much about artistic growth as it was about physical attraction. The chemistry between them was undeniable, but it was the long conversations that stretched into the early morning hours that left the deepest mark. Glenn's fierce intelligence matched Sam's quiet wisdom. She saw through his cowboy persona to the thoughtful man beneath, while he recognized the passionate woman hiding behind her controlled professional exterior. Their affair was brief but transformative. Each left a mark on the other's approach to their craft and their understanding of what it meant to truly connect. "She made me better," Sam admits, his voice tinged with gratitude and a hint of regret. "She made me see myself in a way I never had before." The room grows even quieter as Sam prepares to reveal the next name, a name that carries the weight of regret and what might have been.
Cher.
She was already a superstar when their paths crossed in the early 80s, a woman who commanded attention simply by walking into a room. But what captivated Sam wasn't her fame or her larger-than-life persona. It was the moments when the spotlight dimmed and he glimpsed the vulnerable woman beneath the sequins and attitude. Their paths crossed at a Hollywood party, one Sam attended reluctantly, never comfortable with the schmoozing and small talk that fueled the industry. Cher found him on the balcony, nursing a beer and staring out at the city lights. She didn't approach him with the confidence everyone expected from a woman who had conquered both music and movies. Instead, she seemed almost shy, asking if she could join him in the quiet. What followed was 3 months of stolen moments that defied everything the public thought they knew about both of them. Sam, the stoic cowboy, found himself disarmed by Cher's raw honesty about her fears and insecurities. She, the bold performer, discovered a safe harbor in Sam's steady presence and his ability to listen without judgment. Their affair unfolded in secret locations across Los Angeles, late-night drives up the coast, hotel suites where Cher would shed her glamorous image and become simply a woman who laughed at Sam's dry observations about Hollywood absurdity. Sam remembers the way Cher's guard would drop when they were alone, how her famous voice would soften to a whisper as she confessed her doubts about whether anyone could love the real her, not just the icon she had become. He became her refuge from a world that demanded she be larger than life every moment of every day. In return, she challenged him to embrace his own star power, pushing him to take risks that would eventually define his career. The end came not from lack of feeling, but from the impossibility of their situation. Cher's career demanded constant public attention, while Sam thrived in the shadows. They both knew their relationship couldn't survive the media scrutiny that would inevitably follow if they went public. The parting was gentle but final, each understanding they had given the other something precious that would last long after their physical connection ended. The next chapter in Sam's romantic history was perhaps the most unexpected.
Jessica Lange.
She was riding high on her success from Tootsie and Francis when they met at a film festival in 1983. Jessica carried herself with the confidence of a woman who had proven she was more than just another pretty face, but Sam detected something restless beneath her composed exterior. Their connection began over a shared cynicism about Hollywood's treatment of actors as commodities rather than artists. Jessica was fighting to be taken seriously as a dramatic actress, while Sam was struggling to break free from the supporting character roles that seemed to define his career. They found solace in each other's understanding of the industry's frustrations and the loneliness that came with success that never felt quite complete. What drew them together was their mutual appreciation for authenticity in a world built on pretense. Jessica was fascinated by Sam's refusal to play the Hollywood game, his contentment with being exactly who he was rather than who others expected him to be. Sam was captivated by Jessica's fierce intelligence and her unwillingness to compromise her artistic integrity for easier paths to stardom. Their relationship lasted 8 months, conducted primarily on location during their respective film shoots. They would meet in forgotten towns across America, finding comfort in the anonymity of places where no one cared who they were. Sam recalls Jessica as a woman who challenged him to dig deeper into his characters, who pushed him to find emotional truths he had been afraid to explore. The physical chemistry between them was undeniable, but it was their intellectual connection that truly bound them together. Long conversations about literature, philosophy, and the responsibility of artists to reflect truth back to society. Jessica saw in Sam a depth that most directors missed, while he recognized in her a commitment to craft that matched his own quiet dedication. Their parting was inevitable but amicable, each recognizing that their careers were pulling them in different directions. Jessica was moving toward the kind of leading lady roles that would define her legacy, while Sam was finally beginning to find his niche as the strong, silent presence that would become his trademark. They remained friends long after their romantic connection ended, each carrying respect for what the other had taught them about love and artistry. As the Malibu sky turns from gold to indigo, Sam's voice grows softer, more reflective. The stories he shares are not just about passion, but about the lessons learned in the quiet moments between the headlines. Each woman, each relationship, left an indelible mark on the man who would become a Hollywood legend. And as he prepares to reveal the 7th and final name, there is a sense that the most profound truth is yet to come. The room is now cloaked in twilight, the last rays of sun painting the walls with memories. Sam Elliott sits in the hush, his hands wrapped around the whiskey glass, his gaze distant. The interviewer, notebook forgotten, is transfixed. The air is thick with anticipation, as if the house itself is waiting for the final confession. Sam's voice is almost a whisper as he speaks the 7th name, a name that carries the most mystery, perhaps because it represents the road not taken. Sissy Spacek. By the mid-80s, she was already established as one of Hollywood's most respected dramatic actresses, her performances raw and unflinching. She possessed a quality that set her apart from every other woman Sam had known, an earthiness that reminded him of his own roots, combined with an intelligence that could cut through pretense like a blade. Their meeting was almost accidental. Both attended the same small theater production in Los Angeles, drawn by their shared appreciation for raw, uncompromising storytelling. Afterward, they found themselves at the same coffee shop, discussing the performance with the passion of two people who truly understood the craft. What followed was the most complicated relationship of Sam's life, not because of external circumstances, but because of the depth of feeling that developed between them. Sissy saw through his cowboy persona immediately, recognizing the thoughtful, complex man beneath the laconic exterior. Sam found himself disarmed by her combination of strength and vulnerability, her ability to be both fierce and tender in the same moment. Their connection transcended the physical, though the attraction between them was magnetic. They shared long walks through Griffith Park, conversations that ranged from childhood memories to philosophical debates about the nature of truth in storytelling. Sissy challenged Sam's assumptions about himself and his place in the world, while he provided her with a sense of grounding that her intense career had made increasingly difficult to find. Their relationship lasted 2 years, the longest of any of Sam's affairs outside his eventual marriage to Catherine Ross. But it ended not from lack of love, but from an excess of it. Both recognized that what they felt for each other was too powerful, too consuming to coexist with the careers that defined them. They made the painful decision to step back before their connection destroyed everything else they had built. Sam's voice grows quiet as he finishes his confession, the weight of decades settling around him like dust in the fading light. These 7 women shaped not just his understanding of desire, but his comprehension of what it meant to truly connect with another human being. Each relationship taught him something different about love, about vulnerability, about the courage required to open oneself completely to another person. The interviewer shifts forward, sensing that Sam's journey through memory isn't quite complete. There's something in the way his weathered hands grip the whiskey glass, a tension that suggests one final revelation waiting in the wings. The silence stretches between them like a held breath. And when Sam finally speaks again, his voice carries a different quality, deeper, more uncertain. "There's something else," he says, and for the first time in the conversation, the legendary confidence wavers. "Something I've never told anyone. Not even Catherine." The room grows impossibly still. Outside, the wind has died down completely, as if nature itself is leaning in to listen. Sam's eyes focus on something beyond the interviewer, beyond the room, beyond the present moment entirely. 1976. I was nobody then, just another tall drink of water hoping for a break. There was this woman, this incredible woman who could have had any man in Hollywood. Hell,
She probably did.
But for 3 weeks, she chose me. He pauses, seeming to weigh whether to continue. The mustache that became his trademark barely existed then, just stubble and hope, and the kind of raw magnetism that couldn't be manufactured or taught. Raquel Welch, he finally says, and the name hangs in the air like smoke from a dying campfire. She was everything he wasn't, sophisticated, worldly, comfortable in her own skin in ways he was still learning. He was filming some forgettable western, and she was between pictures, taking meetings, being Raquel Welch. Sam's memory pulls him back to a different Hollywood, one where stars still carried mystique and privacy was possible if you knew the right places to hide. Raquel wasn't just the sex symbol the world saw in those iconic posters and magazine covers. She was a woman searching for something real beneath the carefully constructed image that had made her famous. They met at a dive bar in Venice Beach, not the Venice Beach of today, but a gritty, forgotten corner where actors went to disappear for a while. She was sitting alone at the end of the bar, wearing sunglasses even though it was nearly midnight. Sam recognized her immediately, but something about the way she carried herself told him she didn't want to be recognized. He ordered a beer and minded his own business, but Raquel surprised him by speaking first, asking if he had a light for her cigarette. Her voice was softer than he expected, more vulnerable than the confident purr that had launched 1,000 fantasies. She told me later she chose me because I was the only man in the place who didn't stare. Didn't try to impress her or buy her a drink or pretend we'd met somewhere before. I just existed in my own space. And apparently, that was exactly what she needed. What followed was unlike anything Sam had experienced with the other women he'd known. Raquel was older, more experienced, carrying herself with the confidence of someone who had already conquered the world and found it wanting. But beneath that poise was a loneliness that matched his own, a searching quality that drew them together. Their affair unfolded in secret locations across Los Angeles. Raquel's house in the hills, where she would cook for him, wearing nothing but one of his shirts, moving through the kitchen with a domestic grace that contradicted everything the public thought they knew about her. Long drives down the coast, where she would let her hair down and become simply a woman enjoying the company of a man who saw past the image to the person beneath. She was generous, Sam says, his voice growing tender. Not with money or gifts, but with herself. She shared parts of her story that never made it into the interviews, the struggles, the compromises, the price of becoming an icon before she was ready to handle the weight of it. Sam sets down his whiskey glass and looks directly at the interviewer, then past him to the camera that's been capturing every word. The afternoon light has faded to dusk, and the shadows have grown long across the room where Hollywood's most enigmatic cowboy has finally broken his silence. These women, he says, his voice carrying the weight of decades and the wisdom of a man who has loved deeply and lost gracefully, they taught me that desire isn't something you can script or direct. It's something that happens between the lines, in the spaces where two people decide to be honest with each other. The mustache twitches one final time, and Sam Elliott at 81 looks exactly like what he is, a man who has lived fully, loved completely, and found peace in the telling. The legend behind the laconic drawl has spoken his truth, and somehow, the mystery remains intact.